In the COVID crisis, highlighting disparities in services for minority communities. And New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer has some ideas now on how the city can address those very concerns. And Comptroller joining us this morning to share his proposals. So good morning to you, Scott. And first and foremost, I want to offer our deepest condolences to you. I haven't spoken to you since the loss of your mother, Arlene, who was well known here in New York City. She was a school teacher, a city councilwoman. I mean, she did a lot for this city, and I wanted to offer our condolences to you.
Thank you very much. She's in my heart every single day, and like so many people in the city who've lost loved ones and can't get closure because the traditional way of mourning is sort of on hold, I am very grateful for the amount of people who've reached out, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it's like to not have those traditional services. And, you know, we are losing a lot of people. Your mother was more than just a number. She was an individual who everybody came to know and love. And obviously she raised an amazing son here. So the city, you're saying, should also create a victim compensation fund for frontline workers who also lost a loved one to COVID-19. How would that all play out?
Well, I remember very clearly when I got the call from my stepfather that emergency services was coming to get my mother to a hospital because she couldn't breathe. And to this day, I don't know who those individuals were who risked their lives to try to save my mother. And many of the frontline workers, quite frankly, aren't going to make it. They're going to lose their lives. They're going to be permanently disabled. That's what heroes do. They go into the fire and they go in and try to save lives. And we have to start preparing for exactly what we did after 9/11 to make sure that the firefighters, police officers, and the nurses and city government workers who are doing all the work so the rest of us can stay safe. We're going to need a national victims fund. We should start it now, model it after what we did in New York City. We dispersed $7 billion, but we're talking about multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package. Surely some of that money must be put away to the families of our future and current heroes. We've lost MTA workers, teachers, EMS workers, and this is only going to get worse before it gets better. So I want to start planning now so that the people who tried to save my mother, we could do a little to protect their families.
Absolutely. You know, the mayor has said, though, that the city is already in a $5 to $10 billion deficit here because of this. So the reality is, where would the money actually be coming from? We saw how long it took to get the 9/11 victim compensation fund up and running. I mean, it took years for that. It just got passed last year. So where would that money be coming from?
Well, this must be federal money, federal dollars. It could be part of the appropriations that we're going to need to rebound our city. I pointed out over a month ago that the city was going to lose $6 billion in revenue. It's probably a lot more today. But look, that's a federal issue. On a local issue, when we look at disparity and overcrowding and people of color, people who are in black and brown communities, they're the ones that are being victimized because the city over a long period of time did not create policies that lifted up the health and opportunities in all of our neighborhoods. So I hope that the mayor's budget reflects the fact that 27% of black children are living in poverty, 34% of Latino children, 20% of Asian American kids. And we have got to focus this budget on communities that are now spiraling because the virus is hitting the communities that have already been devastated by poor economic planning. So there's a lot that we have to do to make sure that we protect our frontline workers. But many of those workers are people of color and live in communities that have already been dealt a serious economic blow because the city has not tended to those neighborhoods. And it's time to fundamentally change the way we budget to protect all people in this city.
Yeah, and your plan that you're proposing really addresses those disparities in those communities, something we've been talking about time and time again here. I do want to talk about what we saw after 2008 recession and after 9/11 as well. I asked you this once before, but we saw the city actually raise taxes. I know no one wants to say it right now, but it is a reality we could face to make up for so much of these losses, right? So is it an option of raising taxes? Is it being discussed right now, at least?
You know, usually the mayor shares his budget proposal with the comptroller before he announces it. He's taking advantage of a crisis and keeping everything close to the vest. But at the same time, it's kind of like grown-up time. We're going to have a discussion with the people in the city to look at different options. No one wants to raise taxes, especially on working people. but we also have to figure out ways to save on revenue and also make sure that the dollars that we're going to spend are going to have results. And that has been my critique of this administration. We spend a whole lot of money, but we have record homelessness. We have record health disparities in the Bronx and throughout our city. We see what's happening in Queens and Corona, and a lot of that is just poor governing.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to look at this crisis and change the way we resource so that we can get the best bang for the buck. I've always said that.
I only have 20 seconds left here. I want to squeeze in one thing you just touched upon, which were hotel rooms for the homeless. Have you seen any hotel chains come out and say, okay, we support this, we want to help, we can do it?
Look, I think there's a lot of support to make sure that we can reduce overcrowding, to contain the virus, stop the spread. Frontline workers should have access to dormitories and to hotel rooms. That's where the resources should go. Look, we need a comprehensive plan. We need it now. It starts with the budget, but it also starts with making sure that the people who are doing the grocery deliveries, people who are the nurses, the frontline doctors, we can create a plan in this city that realizes their safety, even in tough economic times.
Understood.
And there's no question we are in for a headwind with this economy and with the coronavirus.
Controller Stringer, thank you again. I just want to say, again, my condolences to you. And that tower of books behind you has me nervous. Is that a game of Jenga behind you? Is it going to fall, or is it secured?
This is my wife's art creation, and it is now the rage on Twitter, I have to admit, every time I do an interview. But it wasn't my artistic creativity. It's my wife, Elise. I like it.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to fall on you. All right. Thank you. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
So far, so good.